Good evening. According to the Registrar of Newspapers of India, as of 31st March 2020, there were 1,43,423 publications in the country. Uttar Pradesh led with 21,022 publications. Maharashtra was next with 19,631. Delhi had 16,297. Madhya Pradesh came fourth with 12,885 publications. Tamil Nadu was fifth with 8,704. Karnataka had 7,749 publications, that's 7,749. Rajasthan, 7,679. West Bengal, 7,502. Gujarat came next with 7,243. India, even a small state such as Orissa has 2,626 publications. Clearly, Indians love to read. Around 350 million copies of newspapers are distributed daily in Indian homes. Yes, the pandemic came around and the copies went down for a while, but the newspaper industry, really has bounced back. Estimates are that Hindi newspapers had a readership base of around 200 million plus daily, regional at about 220 million, while English newspapers had 31 million daily readers in 2019. That could have been shaved somewhat, yes, it's in the pandemic. But when I speak to my newspaper vendor on the street, he's told me readers have bounced back, buyers and customers have bounced back, and he's selling out his stock of newspapers every day, allowing him to make close to about 250 rupees daily. It's not really bad for half a day's work. With readers returning, advertising too has been returning. Newspapers have put on weight from being super wafer thin for several months. They're now looking healthy. There were estimates that there'd be a 60-70% drop. Then there was 20-25% drop. I just spoke to Kakon a while ago, one of the panelists, and she said, listen, there's no drop, forget it. Life is great for us. So I'm really happy that we have a fabulous panel to discuss the return of print. And we've got about an hour and 20 minutes. We'll be listening to them, what they have to say, what they have to share. I have Aditi Mishra, the Chief Strategy Officer of Lodestar Universal. Hi, Aditi, welcome. Are you there, Aditi? Hello?
Hi, yes, Anil, hello. I'm there, can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome. I can hear you, Can you hear me? Yeah, so
yes,
welcome. Look
absolutely.
forward to whatever you have to share with us. It'll be great to have you share a lot with us. Then I have Deepak Pandey, the Senior Vice President, Product Sales and Marketing from Jagaran Percussion. I didn't get a chance to speak to him before this, before we started, but it'll be great to listen to what he has to say. Welcome, Deepak.
Hi, great to be here.
Thank you very much. And of course, the very dynamic Kakon Sethi, the Chief Marketing Officer of the Dainik Bhaskar Group, known her for many, many years, close to 2 decades, right from the time when she was in advertising, then in Sony. Welcome, Kakon. Are you there, Kakon? Can you hear me?
Yep. Hello.
Yeah, good to hear your voice. Then I have Lalatendu Panda, the Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of Reliance Grocery Retail. A big welcome to you, Lalatendu.
Hi. Thanks, Anil. Thanks for the introduction.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Narayan Devanathan, the Chief Executive Officer, Dentsu Solutions, India, the Chairperson, Dentsu Creative India, the Group Executive and Strategy Officer, Dentsu International South Asia. Good to have you here, Narayan. Are you there, Narayan? Can you hear me?
Hi, and thank you for the introduction. Excited to be here as part of this panel.
Thank you very much. Sanjay Sindwani, the Chief Executive Officer of Indian Express Online Media. Online, this is about but online has a role to play in print. Are you there, Sanjay? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me, or am I having internet connectivity problems? If I'm, my humble apologies. If you can hear me, great. Our next panelist is Vipul Oberoi, the CMO of IIFL Finance. Welcome, Vipul. Vipul, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And then finally, there's me, Anil Banwari, the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the IndianTelevision.com group. We are into several verticals. There's IndianTelevision.com, radioandmusic.com, focusing on the FM radio and the music industry and on consumers. Telechecker.com, which does about 1 billion views a year. As Sanjay will tell you, we talk in billions, we talk in millions. We don't talk in hundreds of thousands like the newspaper guys do. Then there is AnimationExpress.com, which is the second or third largest in the world in its area of coverage, which is animation, visual effects, comics, and gaming. Like the print publication, we've extended to other areas. There's services we offer the industries that we cover. Then there is also events that we run. We also represent some technology companies from overseas in India, and we sell that technology to Indian companies. But this is not about us. This is about the return of print. I'll begin by asking each of you all, did print ever really go away? I'll begin with Kakon. Did print ever really go away? Kakon, would you like to step in?
Hi. Well, I don't think so. I mean, I've been a planner buyer myself, and I've been in television and on the print side, on the media, proprietary company media, side where we have print and radio and digital, and I genuinely don't think that print has gone away. And in fact, I have a bit of a worldview, which is that there is English print and then there is language print, because the two markets are very different, and that's what we were discussing before we kind of we got online. So here, on the language print side, I think it's a growing story. It's been a growing story. One, because it's very simple. There is population which has grown. There is literacy which has grown. So if you look at the headroom for print to grow, that has been significantly more as compared to the metro markets, where you have already a large size. I mean, there is a fair bit of literacy already there. Here in the what we call the states, or in the Indian language markets, you are looking at also culturally a big difference. Culturally, topographically, the markets they behave differently. As we saw in the COVID, that they were a lot fearless. They were very resilient. They came back with, people were like, apne ko kaam pe jana hai. It's mostly the kind of the work that people do there is, not MNC work, if you know what I mean. It's not that they go to these large MNC offices and stuff like that. A lot of the MNC work is done in the larger cities, but in the states, in the language markets, it's mostly business communities. These are called cash markets, if you and I can talk about that. They are also, states which are mostly driven by traders, businessmen. There is, corporate work as well now, but government and business are, the communities that you largely find there. So they're very different. It's something, and in these markets, we've seen a growth of print. Also, in these markets, culturally, reading is considered, the physical reading is considered to be a good habit. So there has been a print has continued to have a growth story in these markets. In COVID as well, while we saw that in what we call the English markets, we saw the English product not being available, and not because there was a very long lockdown in the metro markets. In the non-metro markets, or in the markets beyond the metros, in the Indian language markets, the comeback was very fast, because the markets opened up faster. People went back to work faster. The publishers went to work faster. They said that, no, we cannot afford to. And I'm sure that my peer from Jagaran Percussion would also bear out.
Yeah, let's hand it over to them, and let's have him hear what he has to say. Deepak, your perspective. Deepak, are you there? Hello.
I fully agree with Kakon, and I can only add that one needs to look at print, and especially regional print, with a totally different mindset altogether. You can't mix English with Hindi or any other language print. Plus, you need to really, look into what is happening at the ground level. One way to look at it is, once pandemic happened, people started moving away from metros. So if I was employed living in Mumbai or Delhi, Gurgaon, and there was work from home happening, and still work from home happening, then I am no longer living in Gurgaon or Delhi or Mumbai. I have moved to places like Lucknow, Bhopal, or Indore, or to Patna. People move to their homes. And when they move to their homes, they are not consuming English newspaper there, they're consuming Hindi newspapers there, or any other regional language newspapers happening. And the way regional markets bounced back, by mid-May or mid-June, we were seeing breakneck speed and, people just coming back. Even in the month of April, we did not stop publishing, even for the smallest location. We were sending newspaper. And actually it was the print, logistically speaking, which was delivering newspaper. We never stopped business, not even for a single day. Next day from the lockdown, when we opened up, my publication never stopped. Even if at a location I was, for let's say couple of days, I was printing, let's say 40-60% copies. We were still printing those copies and sending those copies. I had in month of April, big FMCGs calling me up through my advertising colleagues. Can you move my goods?
Yeah,
they were not able to move their goods, and I was moving their goods. I was sending my contracted manpower to their godowns to look after their accounts, to help them make their deliveries. I was putting my taxis, my vehicles on their routes. We were doing this kind of business for our FMCG partners, because that's what we do. That's how we cooperate. That's how we share.
At a cost, I hope. Not free.
You see, if it was a private contractor, then contractor was charging. I was not charging for my fee. If I was advising this is how you can do it, I was not charging for myself.
Yeah.
But I was telling my contractor, look, this is good business for you, and please help them out.
Yeah.
If I was putting my subcontracted manpower, then I'd say, okay, you fine, pay this boy directly for your accounting business. Pay this person labor directly. I'm not taking a cut on that. I never took a cut on that. But the main question is that print never went out of business, never going to go out of business. The other aspect of, future of print that you need to realize, you see, the way NHAI is connecting these smaller towns. For example, if I'm sitting in Noida, Bareilly is just 3 hours away. And if I go to Bareilly 6 months from now, the city has changed, because if it is just a 3-hour commute to Noida, people are half the time they are living in Noida, half the time the industrialists are living in Bareilly. Lucknow is just 4.5 hours away from Delhi. In another 6 months to 1 year, Varanasi is going to be about 8 hours by road from Delhi. When the connectivity to major metros is happening, the aspirational level of people living in these cities is rising beyond comparison. They now know what is happening in Noida. They know a person sitting in Varanasi knows what is happening in Lucknow. He will just pick up his car, take Purvanchal Expressway. He is in Lucknow in 2 to 2.5 hours flat. Now, when the aspiration level is rising, who is delivering to that aspirational level? It is the print which is delivering. So once you start talking about the power of print, you need to see the regional print players in a totally different language and how they can deliver.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Narayan, over to you. Your perspective.
Thank you. Thank you, Anil. I actually wanted to focus on the word power that you used when you spoke about the power of print, and this, also in the light of what both Kakon and Deepak said. And I'm going to take this beyond the idea of reach alone, because I think that's one of the things that maybe industry itself needs to do a lot better. And I think there's so much truth in every single word that both Deepak and Kakon have said. It's more of a perception game than a reality game. If I may use a cricket analogy, right? I mean, Ajinkya Rahane came along and won the 2 out of the 3 tests and drew a test after the beating in the first test, and suddenly everybody was like, Virat Kohli's time's over. No, it's not. Virat Kohli is not gone away anywhere. Neither is Ajinkya Rahane going away anywhere. It doesn't mean that one's time is over and the others is here now, right? There's a role for everyone. I think the other thing also is is the probably incorrect juxtaposition, if you will. I mean, the flavor of the season currently is with digital is that this is the time of vernacular. I mean, print has always been about the power of that, right? I mean, this is not new news over here. And I think it seems like there is a matter of changing perceptions more than actually changing the realities, and therefore exploiting the power of print much more, if you will. Also, coming from a brand point of view, there's somebody wiser than me who actually said, digital is great at hyper localization, hyper personalization, but brands are built with shared meanings when communities share meanings. And I think, again, the kind of geographic community-based targeting that newspapers allow is something that digital is only now waking up to, if you will, right? Again, there are all of these pointers that say that the reality is so much more powerful than the perception. Maybe we need to educate not just advertisers and agencies, but as an industry, maybe we need to turn the spotlight onto ourselves a little bit more. Maybe we've been a little shy in doing that, and do that a lot more. But I think the other point that I was going to make actually is a factor that I don't think has been of concern at all when it comes to print. And again, it's a latent power, I would say. Two words that are constantly mentioned in the context of digital is brand safety. And that's because of the concerns and the fears that come with the environment that digital fosters. I don't know if those words ever have any meaning in the context of print, right? And again, if brands are looking to build themselves as trustworthy, then there is probably no safer environment than print, right? Because otherwise, fake news, fake anything is rampant everywhere else, if you will. And lastly, I think the other point I wanted to make actually was, again, the breakneck speed with which news is broken, and I'm using the word broken in multiple senses over here, means that there is really no space for deliberate thinking, analysis, and for people to actually make sense of the world the way they ought to, and not pointing a finger at WhatsApp forward as the sole responsibility over here. But again, that's where the power of print lies, in bringing us back to becoming a thinking people again, if you will. So multiple factors, I would say, all of which are latent, if not blatant, points of power for print, but maybe the perception doesn't quite match up to the reality.
I'll move on to a colleague of yours, Aditi, from Lodestar. But internationally, if you look at the trends, a lot more digital is growing versus print. In India, too, the focus is on print, but the growth is also very high. But print is very stable and growing here. Internationally, print is declining. So, there is a bit of a incongruence over there. Your perception, your views.
So, Anil, I would like to look at print not just as the physicality. I think look at print as something like the written word. I think world over, the written word continues to hold a lot of credibility, a lot of trust vis-a-vis the newer formats, like let's say a video, very quick, snappy, rapid kind of short format.
Hello. Aditi, I think we've lost you. Is she there? Can you all hear me, you guys, or am I frozen?
I can hear you, but I think Aditi.
Aditi is frozen, yeah. So let's, if she comes back in a second, otherwise, I think she'll have to reconnect. I think she's reconnecting. That's the downtime of the internet. Aditi, are you back?
So it is the written word, and I think that is really the essence when we talk about print. Why do we believe newspapers are more credible? Because there is a thought through, journalistic effort which goes behind that written word. There is a kind of analysis. There is a kind of connect locally which they offer, which is not there when you do quick, snappy videos. So yes, they are entertaining, but they may not be as rich in terms of information, as rich in terms of what they bring to the table. And I think globally that's true. What, however, has happened is because of this easy access online, digitally to this written word, the way we need to deliver this written word is changing. And hence, this whole, I would say amalgamation of the power of large print players and how they're able to deliver that message in formats and manners which people are comfortable consuming. So, 20 years back, nobody would have thought that mobile is the place you will consume 90% of whatever you are consuming. But today it is becoming like that. So how do we take the power of the written word and deliver it in a manner which people are okay consuming? I think that remains one of the challenges that we will possibly need to address as the entire ecosystem. And how do we then measure and rely on the effectiveness of that? But I don't see the power of the written word or the power of the credibility of what print players bring to the table going away anytime soon. I think it's going to remain.
Okay, Sanjay, you come in the power of the written word because you're digital, and so I think that she's supporting in a way what you were saying earlier. Over to you.
I think what we are trying to make a distinction here is, there are publishers and there are publishers, right? On digital, because you can have crowd-based content creation. You can have anybody can create a content. Suddenly, we assume all digital is crap. So that's not the fact. So I think it's about the brand. So when you look at any of the digital print publishers having digital extensions, we are talking about credible content being available, and it's just a variance in the format and the form of consumption of that content. So I think that's the distinction I would like to make. When everybody says print is a trusted, reliable kind of a thing, I think it's the brands that make a difference, right? So all digital publishers coming from print or TV legacy have very strong editorial rules, have very strong internal processes built over decades, not even years, built over decades, which ensures that, what goes out and gets published, whether it is on the newspaper, whether it's on the e-paper, whether it's on the website or the application, it follows a rigorous process and due diligence. And I think that makes a differentiation. Now the question is, as Aditi said, the consumption habits are changing. And I think as people who are in the business of news, we have to look at the medium and say, okay, this medium probably engages with the user every morning, and therefore there's a benefit that it brings to it. The way I look at the newspaper is, it's a snapshot of the 24 hours of news that a digital publication does, summarized, selected, curated for an audience in a disposable, portable format. I mean, that's one way of looking at it, right? And the digital is offering a much larger offering and caters to a more personalized need. It can deliver to a much larger audience. It is not limited by distribution challenges. Both bring their own pros and cons to the table. Similarly, from an advertiser's perspective, digital ads are largely small. They are momentary. They but they allow a lot of interactivity. Print ads, as Ranjan was saying, allows people to compare. You have a large, broad format where you can put, 50 products for people with prices, discounts, everything else, and that creates walk-ins for him. So I think the way we have to look at it is, what is the need I am fulfilling? The need is the need to be informed, the need for news. The medium is something the consumer will choose. We can't dictate it to him. And if we believe that, okay, print is here to stay or digital is here to stay, these are all transient things. Probably something else will evolve tomorrow. Maybe you will have digital avatars which are just like a newspaper, but they are powered, Wi-Fi powered, and they update the content in a large format. And suddenly you will have the best of the newspaper and digital getting out there. So we don't know what the format is. I think it's all about the quality of journalism, the trust, the brand safety that reputed publishers bring to the table. And medium is a function, and what medium advertisers choose is a function of the need for the product and the communication. If you want to do interactivity, print is not the right medium. But if you want to do large display, you want to launch a car, and you want to do a double spread, full page kind of a thing. Now you can't do that kind of a thing on a digital medium. It's limiting in that sense. It's very, very annoying to the readers. So I think it's both will coexist. The balance of power will keep changing over time. I mean, digital is also not permanent. I remember when we started off, web was the thing, then apps came in, now video is becoming important. So medium and formats will keep changing. I think the quality of content is the core. As long as we are delivering that to our audiences, advertisers will find value of associating with us. The mode will change, the time will change, the formats will change.
Okay, one place where I disagreed with Sanjay is the relevance of print as an interactive medium. Now, Lalit Endu and both Vipul will come in there. So, when you put out coupons, discount coupons in newspapers, people really come rushing with the discount coupons to the stores, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So Anil, Vipul, you would like to go, or I would?
Or you have your subscription forms for issues in newspapers. People
So,
really
Anil,
go ahead and do it.
if you look at print, so first is the medium, and then the way we look at a particular medium is the kind of business we are in. Whether you are a mass retailer or a niche retailer. The first thing is that who is your consumer, whom you are targeting, what is the media consumption habit of that person. Also to a great extent, the timing of the consumption of the media is playing a very significant role. And then what message I want to communicate, which medium fits the objective of communicating the message in the most effective way, which gives the best ROI. When I'm looking at it all this perspective, first of all, I'm mass retailer. So if you look at, I am selling a product to everybody, and it is being a mass retailer, the reach is extremely important for me. First thing, when I'm looking at a print medium today, the print is giving me that mass reach. The second thing is that it is giving a huge impact. Now just look at the size of a newspaper. You have taken a full size paper, which is in front of you, versus whether it's an audio and a visual medium, and you can talk about, let's say, it's a static medium, but the size of the impact. Today, I want to communicate to homemakers the various items and prices. She wants to evaluate me whether I am good, bad, or ugly. Whether is particular retail, there is one product which is at a cheaper price, or cauliflower is cheap. Also, another brand, let's say Maggie is cheap, or let's say particular brand of ketchup is cheap. So she is able to see everything and today take a decision that this comparative mode is something which is one of the most impactful thing. In an instant, we get to see that we are able to reach these people. Second thing, the consumption of this medium is happening in the early morning stage. When it's the timing, no medium today can probably give you are starting your sale 7 o'clock in the morning. Entire India is consuming the print at 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. maximum. So other mediums will take a time to build. You may have a television ad, you will build frequency. Maybe in the topmost soap opera, you will be giving it at 9 o'clock in the night, but you will not be starting probably, So the whole thing is that this particular aspect of the medium is helping us big time in planning. One more thing which I would like to say, I slightly disagree with Sanjay that there is no interactivity. If you look at today, mango season was there. The newspaper entirely, was perfumed with the mango flavor. So when you are opening the paper, you are smelling the mango flavor, and I am doing an advertisement of mango. Today, all of us recall the Volkswagen ad, where the audio was given along with that. Today, I am talking about, let's say, for example, I want to do a mass scale sampling in an FMCG brand, so Kisan giving tomato ketchup seeds, or otherwise, the sachet sampling happening to the print. Mass scale sampling, reaching the right TG in one go, these are the things probably a television ad or a digital cannot give today, So the way I look at print, and all of us have talked about already the credibility of the medium, the authenticity of the medium, there is no doubt about it, So, all of us went through this pandemic phase and we realized that the newspaper is out of, all of a sudden has gone away. And all of us who have born and brought up reading print for a long period of time, we were already seeing the e-paper rather than going to the app. Many of us were doing in our iPads. So fundamentally, what we're trying to say is that this medium has never gone, and this is the oldest medium, more than a century medium. When TV came, the debate was that print will vanish. When digital came, print will vanish. It has never vanished, It has become stronger and stronger in India. The print has evolved. Today, we're talking about, let's say, astrology. Today, we're talking about, for example, sports section, different clickinfo.com or some sites. But if you look at, print has already started this segmentation decades ago, for entertainment, for astrology, for business, everything, So who says that segmentation is not possible, or it is not only vernacular or English medium? On the basis of the likability of the genre, also there has been a huge segment. Today, I want to appeal to the SCCA plus high profile customer. I may go for a, business paper rather than a mass scale newspaper, for example, something else. So today, I feel that the interactivity, the ability of the medium to also measure. One of the biggest question happens is that in a digital medium, the people are clicking entirely. You can feel the number of people are coming and what is. Today, I am handling e-commerce. I do a control and test group. I see that when we don't have print and only digital, and I have a print and digital, instantly in the morning hour, there is a 2-hour rush happens to the site. So I can clearly correlate that in my direct traffic is happening. So today, saying that print is not, probably measurability may be sometimes difficult if you don't give a coupon, or else, print is probably very wide and mass scale, cannot be narrowed down. And we are having, let's say today, Navi Mumbai, I want to advertise instead of entire Bombay. I have a possibility. Today, I want to do a Mulund Plus, I have the opportunity. So, the fact is that, we are, whether it is a mass targeting, whether it is a segment-based targeting, whether you want to target a kind of a genre, you want to do mass sampling activity, you want to do innovation in print. Print is giving a whole plethora of option. And hence, I think this medium is going to stay. This medium has never gone away, actually. This was an unprecedented time. And I'm really happy that for brick and mortar retailer and e-commerce retailer, print has been always the mainstay. We have always seen the merit in reaching out to our TG in the most meaningful way. It has given us the bang for the buck. It will continue to give the bang for the buck. Whether it is a small, we are present in 7,000 plus towns. Grocery retail is the smallest of the town. So from Bhimabaram and Tirupati se leke Mumbai tak, everywhere it works for us. So this is where I think, Anil, the charm of the medium is that, you pick the right medium, you get the right population to see it, and it delivers the reach and the impact. And, and finally, you are able to measure the success. And then as a marketer, what do you want at the end of the day? You want your message to be effectively communicated in a cost-effective way, right? So, and that is what is happening. And so you continue to bank on this. And so that's my basic point,
Thank you. Thank you. Vipul, you just had a fantastic quarter as a company. Fabulous interest, accrued to your top line, etc. Fantastic disbursements of loans. So, what do you swear by? Do you swear by print? I also see you doing a lot of digital activity with your gold, you have a gold loan scheme. So where do you draw the line? And my earlier conversation about print not going away at all. Can you unmute yourself? Vipul, unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself first. Yeah.
Yeah. So our, of course, like any other brands, our marketing mix is a mix of everything, right from ATL to BTL digital. Coming straight to the point of return of print itself means that print had gone away somewhere, but it was just an artificial vacuum. It wasn't because of print as a medium had fallen out of favor, but just clarifying that when we say print, we always used to mean newspaper and magazines. And the thing is, now magazines is something which nobody really talks about. It's gone out of fashion. But yes, print never went away. I would also like to bifurcate between the behavior of readers in metro and non-metro. In the metro, we find that people are moving away from newspapers, but of course that is, and the point was driven home very well by Kakon. And in fact, as a brand also, we are pretty similar to what Reliance Grocery is. We are present in 700 locations across the country. If we need to make a connect with our consumers, and very important thing is TG. So we don't target the creme de la creme of consumers, the NCCS A, but we target the NCCS B to D. Now these are the people for whom that regional language, that connect, comes through their own language itself. And that is why our focus always has been on regional newspapers. And it's not just for promotion activities. One also needs to see that we don't just give advertisements. There are statutory advertisements. There are auction ads. There are branch opening ads. All these also ultimately we don't really promote so much on digital. Ultimately, it is done through newspapers because that is what our target consumers also read as a habit every day in the morning. But I would, if I have to bring up the threat part of it, is that if there is any threat to print, is not from digital. It is actually from its own ecosystem. there are about 1.43 lakh publications, I think, which you had mentioned.
That's
Now,
right.
1.43 lakh, will these really survive? For a change, we need to ignore the forest and look at the trees itself. What we look for in digital, and that is one of the biggest things what digital and to a large extent TV also provides, is measurement and tracking. There is IRS, of course, but IRS itself needs a lot of upgrade, frankly, because the time
Have you heard of
spent
BARC?
on what page you spend.
Have you heard of BARC requiring an upgrade? Have you heard of BARC requiring an upgrade also? Anyway, you continue with the IRS, please.
Yeah. So BARC's own problems aside, and
BARC
that
requires
is
an
another reason. Yeah, so in fact, that always creates a question. It's a research methodology, but IRS itself has a very small sample size. It does not dwell too much on the time spent and what kind of pages one is reading. So, but the point is, even if you don't have that, how many of these 1.43 lakh publications actually participate in IRS? And if, as a brand, I don't have data to back up my media plan, I wouldn't really go for it. So there are smaller publications which contact us and say that we have X amount of circulation, but that is purely their own numbers. So we need that ABC certificate there. So if that is possible, yes, then print is surely, it has to compete with other media like TV and digital, and that's mainly on the measurement part of it.
Yeah. So going back to Kakon and to the publishing side, so measurement is lacking in this industry. And then we'll also go back to Narayan and to Aditi on this.
So that's one of the problems that we faced as an industry, and I think we've in the last, which is why the attempt by MRUC to at least put out 4 quarters of the IRS. But you must understand that this is a physical survey. And I understand the point about the smaller sample size. It could be a larger sample size and so on and so forth. So but the fact is that it has been, a bunch of, and I'm not going to speak here on, I'm actually, MRUC has to give me these, has to solve my problems rather than me trying to solve MRUC's problems. So yes, they continue to be issues as far as, research.
Building trust, data trust.
But one of the things that we've done is that, and it's gone off, and it's going well. So what we do is we work a lot on performance, performance metrics. We're probably one of the few companies on the print side, because everybody talks to me and says that, we can't do, how will print, manage to tell us what the impact of this plan will be and blah, blah, blah. So what we do is we actually do a lot of what is called sales linked plans, which means that we are able to make, so the advertiser then shares their plan with us. If there's some market share, linked option that we can work with, which clearly goes into performance, where we are able to work with the advertiser to be able to deliver a certain metric that is required to be delivered in that market. So for me, I'm saying that if I didn't have the requisite, if we are able to build these kind of often used metrics, then the issues that are challenges as far as कि आपके पास number नहीं है तो आप क्या करेंगे and so on and so forth, those things go away, because when I'm able to go to an advertiser and say, in your category, these are the 5 things I have done or the 6 things that I have done in the last 3 months, and without case study, it helps me because I'm able to then very clearly showcase performance, and that's what the advertiser is looking for. At that point in time, he doesn't question me that is your circulation 15 lakhs or 50 lakhs or 56 lakhs or whatever it is. He doesn't question me. He's more interested in whether I'm delivering to. So while there is an issue as far as, the oftenness of the survey, how the sample size is smaller and so on and so forth, you find ways to be able to deliver to the advertiser with your medium. And that's one of the things that we've been doing.
Yeah. So Deepak, is the newspaper, like the digital industry is very open to working on performance, click-throughs, for instance. Is the newspaper industry also open to working on incentives? You charge a base rate, and if the sales go up, you get that much higher. You get a bump up in what the advertiser is paying you.
So I do not look after the advertising sales, but I will tell you from the distribution sales perspective. What Vipul was saying, you have to remove wheat from the chaff. So the likes of Jagaran, Bhaskar, Times of India, Rajasthan Patrika, Punjab Kesari, Hindustan, Amar Ujala, you have to separate these set of publications because these are the serious publications. They are not going anywhere. So everybody knows what the IRS numbers are. Everybody knows what the circulation numbers are. What is the problem of ABC, or what could be the problem of MRUC, that is for them to resolve. But these publications have to live up to their credibility to deliver results from the response side also, not just from the content side also. They have to live up to the credibility. The client is not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere. So what Kakon was saying about delivering measurables, I can say for certainly that, I get calls from my advertising colleagues. Look, can we deliver this result in this market? And this is the metric we are going to run with. Now, for any organization, for any business that is in for profit, any smallest piece of information can be developed into a metric which can be measured. So if that metric is measurable, then it can be delivered. And I would, at this stage, go back to what Lalitendu was saying. From distribution side, I can deliver a village to you. I can deliver a locality, a colony in a city. I can go, and this segmentation, it is not just that is happening today. I know my vendors, I know my beat boys, I can pinpoint this society. What do you want? I want these 10 NCCSA category markets, let's say in a small town like Jalandhar. In Jalandhar, that NCCSA is not reading Tribune or a Hindustan Times. 90% of those people would be reading a Punjab Kesari or a Dainik Bhaskar or a Jagaran. You go to Kanpur, 90% of SEC, AB would be delivered by a Hindi newspaper rather than an English newspaper. In Lucknow, Times of India is about 25% of my size. So what are the numbers are we talking about? It is just limited to, markets like Mumbai or Delhi or, Bangalore. And let's talk about metrics. The solutions will change for advertiser, understood. How we are going to deliver that response, that is going to change. But that does not mean that, solution cannot be delivered by print. Print can deliver that solution.
Great. Okay. So Aditi, your counter.
So actually, there's no counter, Anil. I agree with them. And in fact, both what Kakun has said and what Deepak is saying, I think that's been our approach to sort of work with them to figure out what could be the right metric for us. Because we all know the challenge we are facing in, ground research and data. So the two approaches that we have done is we have done sales linked options, and they work very differently. It's not like the normal placement that we will choose to do when you do an IRS run and decide, okay, 2 ads and then 3+ and this is my number. So you don't work like that. You look at a final KPI and then you deliver, and that has worked well for some clients. The challenge is that not all the time the metric is sales. Sometimes you have softer metrics. And again, with Jagaran, we have done very interesting campaigns. In fact, we are working on something right now where we are trying to talk to young girls and, talk to them about normalizing periods. And, one thought might come into your mind that what does a newspaper have to do with this audience? This is not the audience, we think this is not the audience which reads. But what we found is that in UP, this is the audience and this is the medium which is credible and which gives you an entry into a conversation like this. And then how do you connect to that audience to deliver some message like this and measure softer KPIs? So it's not just about reaching them, but it is about then, parallelly aligning with the partner to say, okay, I'm now going to look at softer KPIs like perception change. How many people got my message? How many of them now think differently from what they were thinking before? So given the fact that you don't have a standardized option like Iris, maybe that's where you start the journey. But after that, it is all about working together to figure out what am I going to measure, and then putting a system in place together which allows us to capture that information. Similarly, for an auto client, let's say in Bihar, I want to understand what is the kind of inquiries and walk-ins which are coming in. So we put in a system from our end along with the partner saying, these are the 5 things I'm going to measure. I'm going to look at the size. I'm going to look at the placement. I'm going to look at multiple things which allow me to get a metric. And once I have worked that metric with you and we are aligned, then we can move forward together, because then we are together invested in delivering that output. So I think given a standardized measurement challenge, these are, sort of ways that we have found which work well and which allow us to measure the effectiveness of our communication for brands.
Great, thanks. Sanjay, sorry, yeah. Who wanted to speak, Lalitendu? Or is
yeah,
it,
I just wanted to add a few points actually on this, if I may.
Please go ahead.
So, we have been discussing about the effectiveness of print from somebody who is also managing a large number of brick and mortar retail stores. I would just give a perspective. So I may be having a store in Thane, in Mumbai, where actually a vernacular paper, let's say Maharashtra Times, is very big, whereas the number of, let's say circulation of another paper is very high in Bombay, If I just look at the IRS data and all, if I don't have a depot-wise data, at that time, so, I may be present in only Navi Mumbai, but Navi Mumbai may another paper would be dominating, whereas it actually is way ahead of another paper, but the main paper is probably somewhere else, in the entire city, it will be having a big thing. So what is my request, to all the friends in the media is that, you need to understand the business. And today retail prints maximum number of, the maximum spend of retail actually is in print. When you are transparent, when you give this depot-wise data, or you are truthful, that helps us in understanding कि मेरा यहाँ पे brick and mortar का store है and I am advertising there, the customer will immediately go. Otherwise it will be raining somewhere else and I am sitting here and there is no rain for me. So one fundamental thing is that which will definitely help. Second point, which this is slightly, selfish point, but every business operates with certain margin. There are brands which come and repeatedly advertise with you, but their gross margin is very low. Let's take, for example, grocery business. There are some businesses so have a differential rate structure. This person is going to give you repeated number of insertion. Let me charge him less. If I have a card rate or same rate for all the verticals, probably, you will not be able to get them thing. Now, this is something which is just for the, my print friends in the business wanted to slightly, sorry.
You're setting the cat amongst the pigeons, but I'll go back to Sanjay now. Sanjay, in terms of performance, there's nothing that measures in terms of performance like digital does. I mean, you have click-throughs, you have measurable parameters where you have, basically a prompt to buy and conversions happening.
I think what I heard everybody say is that at the end of the day, what matters is are your KPIs moving? As a marketer, as a business, the end result is what matters. And the numbers in between are just about ways of measuring what is working, making it more efficient, so that your end ROI kind of gets better. So whether you what we said, whether you do ads in print or you do it digital or you do it TV. At the end of the day, you are going to measure and say, did it move the needle for me or not? Now, I can give you tons of matrices in between, but if I'm not able to convert that last level, sale for you, those matrices have no meaning. So I think digital actually suffers from, an overdose of data today. And we've seen that, people get carried away with data that actually doesn't make sense. So I think what's important, data is important. It gives you insights, you can use it. But I think today the data has actually become a bane for digital than a boon. And at the end of the day, our objective to our clients is largely around, okay, am I making a difference to what your KPIs are? Forget the intermediary data. You don't look at it, we'll look at it, and we'll optimize things for you. We'll tell you what to do because we understand our audiences and media better. But what we have seen is a lot of times, clients will get into data, they do not understand their audiences, they take decisions that will actually backfire. So sometimes, having the data but not having a deeper understanding of how that data plays out is actually, it backfires. The second thing is what we also see is, especially in digital media, because you have so many different brands, so many different people coming in and offering that solution, there's a lot of ad fraud that happens. What we see is, sometimes people will come and say, I run a campaign there, I'm getting a 2% CTR. Your CTRs are between 0.3 to 0.5. Boss, I don't do bogus CTRs. I don't do bogus clicks. These are genuine clicks coming from genuine people. There's not a bot which is giving you clicks. So I think while data is good, it's also very important to understand, is that data really genuine? I hope it's not manipulated. And I think that's where the data part is actually becoming a minefield for a lot of people to, figure out their way through it. Print has its own challenges. I'll not comment on it. I think the panel has already kind of covered that. But that's where the digital piece is right now. Aside from this, I just wanted to give one side point, which is actually the core of this subject today, with print coming back. So, last year in December, we decided to take our e-paper behind a subscription paywall. And then for a couple of months, we opened the paywall when the lockdown happened. And after that, we brought it back again. And in the last quarter, we've seen a lot of people not renewing. And these are people who had bought an annual subscription or a quarterly subscription, not the monthly sampler kind of an audience. And we actually did a survey. We called up these people to understand, what's changing the behavior. So 43% of the people who had discontinued, they had, and this is the biggest chunk, it was that, my paper has come back to me. So I needed the e-paper when the physical paper was not coming. But now that I'm getting the print, I don't need the e-paper subscription anymore. So I think that's very, very relevant to this subject where we're talking about the comeback. So that has become the biggest. But the good thing is, we also did a lot of sampling during that period. We distributed our e-paper through tie-ups with various banks and financial institutions.
Sure.
And we gained a lot of audience there. But the core print audiences, I think, are reverting. But the geographies where we were not reaching out earlier, we are capturing new markets.
Top end, I think there is some 10% of the audience is not coming back. They're sticking with reading it online, I guess.
No, you'll be happy to know that. I picked up the midday today. You'll be happy to know. And I've been picking up newspapers again. Sorry, who was speaking? Please, Narayan, please come in.
I just wanted to build on something both Aditi and Sanjay said. There's this book that did the rounds a year or two ago called Measure What Matters by John Doerr, right? And I just want to, maybe it's an opportunity, I don't know the solution, but exactly to the point that Sanjay made around how there is maybe an overdose of metrics on digital, and we don't really know what is the one that matters. And there is a bit of a holy grail that digital is now chasing, which I have a feeling print might be more amenable to, which is that, with digital, especially with video content, you can measure engagement, you can measure likes, you can measure shares, but we don't live in an engagement economy. We live in an attention economy. And attention is something that you can't not pay when you have a newspaper in your hand. You can't be multitasking, right? And I'm just wondering if there is a metric for attention that print can innovate. That might be something that brands would pay for, to say, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting over here. So just a thought.
Yeah. Anyone wants to take this up? Vipul wants to take it up. You've not spoken in the last few minutes.
One of the biggest thing about CPM is half of the ad is seen to you for half a second, and it becomes one impression. So so millions of impressions getting delivered. I do both the things, but now in a print forum, so I will talk about print. So we said that 20 million impressions are delivered. If you and I have not seen where is it delivered, then you have to put a third-party metrics. But at least I know today morning I'm advertising in Dainik Bhaskar or Times of India. Sabke ghar mein pahuncha, guaranteed. I'm giving a contrary view. It does not mean that so in digital also, whether it is personalization, it is localization, it is immediately you are clicking a banner and landing in the site and doing a transaction. There are plus points. every medium, what I wanted to say here is that every medium has its pluses and minuses, So today print measurability, I personally see to the panel that when we advertise and do a control and test, instantly we see the items which we have put in the advertisement, and then we see the sale in the previous week of those items and this item, and there is a jump. Then I know that why the jump all of a sudden happened, primarily because I advertised, So if I'm not getting, then I know it didn't work. So whether I got more footfall into the store, whether I got the more sales of the advertised items, so that clearly proves, yes, many times it is efficient or inefficient is a secondary question, but I don't agree that there is zero measurability. There is definitely, to a great extent, the measurability is there. You should know how to do it. If you do a proper control and test.
I wanted to actually make a point to what LP has just told us. There is, many a time a discussion that takes place, and I'm involved in a lot of, having been an oldie in this business, involved in a lot of, apart from the whole marketing gig, into all kinds of sales activities. So the point that comes up is that somehow print gets assigned to the soft, and Aditi also mentioned that, that there are certain soft KPIs. Nothing of that sort. In fact, sales could not be a soft KPI. The number of times what LP is talking about is not a soft KPI. So
absolutely,
while there are other KPIs which are also measurable, and in fact, Aditi, what you were talking about, I was heading a large Johnson & Johnson project, which is the previous one. And we are talking on the period one as well. The entire perspective of what you are able to deliver, what content for example, content is also one of the things that we are talking about today, right? And I see that whole channelization of, because people are paying attention to the fact that there is an environment of believability, of credibility in the newspaper. So यहाँ पे content contextually जब आप कुछ बोलते हो तो वो it goes in better. So how do you measure that? One of the things that I was in a meeting yesterday with MRUC, and one of the things that I'm asking MRUC to look at is that why can't we measure? Why can't print have all mediums have a credibility or a trust index? Why shouldn't we do that? Why should we not look at something like that? Because it's important to create more and more as the times change, not just say that अच्छा print के साथ ये problem है तो और क्या कर सकते हैं जिससे ये problem नहीं रहे. That's my point.
Okay, I'm just going to
sorry Anil, just one thing I wanted to add to Kakun's thing. So Kakun, very interesting you brought that up. There was an interesting ASCI ISA study, in fact, which recently, in December only, we looked at what kind of advertising do people trust and what is the relative trust to ads on newspapers versus ads on television or ads even on branded websites. And very clearly, print has a very forward kind of a difference. So, more than 40% people are saying that they trust ads on print versus, let's say, only 27% on television or 29% on branded websites. So there has been, I think, some effort. It's just not got standardized, and I would say something which the industry is adopted. But yes, that is possibly one direction. Also, what Narayan brought up, which is attention. How do we start measuring attention and layering that? These two things, I think, will help us immensely as an industry to sort of, take things forward.
Right. In fact, why just ASCII? In fact, there are 4 studies in the last, during COVID, which has talked about. So there is the EY ASCII, there is Ormax, and then there is another one, which is, which is talked about the credibility of print being the highest. So there's enough and more. It's just that the industry needs to look at this and, be clear. Like, we were discussing, he was saying that the metric, what are we looking at? Which metric are वो चकाचौंध वाली बात होती है ना जो डिजिटल के metric से होता है. That is, I'm sorry, I launch into my language because I sell.
नहीं, please, हिंदी में बात कीजिए. हिंदी में बात कीजिए.
I get it. To me, that I launch into that because I talk most of the time in that language. So somewhere we kind of, kind of get lost in this, in the whole chakachond of having so many data points as far as digital is concerned. Makes me look smart as well when we present so many data points. So ये सब issues हैं. इनके आगे कैसे effective होना है, कैसे माल बिकवाना है. I think that is the most important matter. That's how what I believe.
Yeah. So I'm just going to ask Vipul a question. Inelasticity of newspaper pricing, is that a concern to you? Which is what LP raised, that they are not willing to consider.
Elasticity, in fact, I was thinking about exactly the same thing of demand and supply. So during COVID times, etc., whenever midway through that, newspapers were supplying their prints to everyone, to tier 3, tier 4 cities. That's excellent. But what about the demand? Who is really demanding it? There are two people who would demand, two parties. One would be the readers and second would be brands. As a brand, if you're talking about the ratings of 40% people believe print ads or credibility of print is the highest, there's actually no doubt about that. 40% actually is not a good number because 60% don't believe in the ads in print. But nevertheless, there's never any doubt on credibility of print. That is why actually brands go through it. If you talk about hard KPIs, like with Lalpindu, it's a hard KPI. He sees immediate sales. I promote something like a gold loan, which is a high involvement product, which people take time to do a lot of window shopping, inquiries, etc. I don't get immediate sales, but why do I do it? For the softer aspect of it. It's because it's credible. It helps me build a brand. That is why I do print. And of course, creates awareness because cost per reader is becomes pretty small. But I think the problem is yes of pricing. It doesn't really fluctuate much. Why digital is good and that data actually attracts me because it gives me a lot of data cuts to make, a lot of slicing and dicing. It gives me a customer journey, which right now print does not provide me that. You can say there's a QR code and you can follow on, but beyond that, it's actually digital, which helps me capture the customer journey. It's not print. So I'm not looking at print from a perspective of hard KPIs, it's soft KPIs and good enough. Every medium has its own pros and cons, and the advantage of print is credibility. But if I get more richer data, which digital provides, richer data, it's not zero measurement, definitely not, it's good measurement, but I really need more customer segmentation and more data on time spent. Where are they exactly spending time? That is where I think print is lying. Maybe it's not about return of print. I think that it's more about what is the future of print.
Okay. Anyone else wants to step in here? Raise some very pertinent points.
So I would like
Deepak,
to address one of the points that Vipul raised, which is, the future of print. And I think what print holds is a very engaged audience, because unlike any other medium, this is a choice you make. I have to pick up to read. It's not something which comes by the way. So because of that, this whole capability of, having a very strong engagement is something which is in your hands. Yes, what will happen is everybody is not going to remain engaged at the same level. So there will be a trade-off. Maybe you'll lose some reach numbers, but you'll eventually have a highly engaged audience. So that I think is the way that print needs to evolve. That how do we, keep this engaged audience with us, and how do we then understand what they need? How do we give them what they need? And how do we connect that to what advertisers want to communicate with this engaged audience? So I think that's going to be one of the spaces that we have to look at.
Aditi, can I
Aditi, I'm going to step in here. Yeah.
I just want
to step in. LP, one second. One point I want to make. She says you pick up the newspaper.
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage picking up the newspaper. In my home, I used to get 50 newspapers every day. Now they're not coming in, now lesser papers are coming in. So, they're coming automatically. I get a bill at the end of the month, I pay it. And the newspaper industry has a lot of couponing where the pricing is actually dropped down to a rupee or 1.5 rupee or 75 paise per, or sometimes it's actually, they're paying me to take the newspaper at times. So,
So do you want
yeah,
me to
they're paying me to
respond,
take the
or
newspaper.
wants to respond?
Oh, please.
Let me.
As far as I'm concerned, I can very clearly say that our prices have gone up year on year.
Yes.
Today, an
I know
average
the prices have gone up, but you have these coupon offers. I have my vendor coming and giving me coupons. You pay me 1,500. I'll give you some 7-8 newspapers, every month, or some 10. We paid for a year. We have an annual bill.
So,
That's not
newspaper.
happening the regional newspaper, no. So
But yes, of
regional
course,
newspaper
there are,
spreads at 6 rupees per
everybody is
day.
offering. Entire e-commerce community is on. I mean, entire e-commerce business is a business of offers. Everybody is offering everything. So why is it a problem with newspapers? If newspaper
I'm not saying it's
is
a
offering,
problem. I know what I'm saying is the newspaper comes into my house. I don't pick it up.
So
I don't have
Anil,
to go and pick it up.
See,
oh,
that
she's coming to
engagement
my
thing,
house.
so to
But
my
I
mind,
can stop it.
as we move
I can
forward,
stop it.
people or consumers are going to become much more choiceful about every expense that they do. And I think this is one thing we saw in COVID. Suddenly there was an entire reprioritization of what do I want to spend money on.
Totally.
And even if it's less than what I used to pay before, or it's a bundle deal or whatever it is, eventually do I want to pay even that 1 rupee? And those are the people who are going to move off. There is no way that you will be able to retain those people with you, because they will move. News is the information that they want. They will get it in manner which is free. Digital to a large extent offers you a lot of news very rapidly and free. So they will move away. People who will stay are people who want to read not just the information, but the analysis, the perspective. So those people are going to stay with you. Yes, that's why I said reach drop. It's not going to be the same number, so we will have to do a balance, and then we figure out how do we move with them.
Yeah. So continue. LV, you wanted to say something.
Just wanted to make a very quick point, Aditi. We have been discussing about the print and the efficacy, and also, people talked about, let's say the campaign is a immediately transactional campaign which is delivering sales or a brand objective. What happens in many times in print, if you don't get a premium position and pay a premium, this is a marketer's challenge. I have not got a jacket ad front page or a back page or a page 3. Then how many people actually flipped through several pages and went to the 7th page in which my ad is featuring? That is one of the biggest dilemma for the marketers. So in case of digital, you say there is an impression delivered. Here, obviously, the net effect after some time you'll know sales happened or digital happened or not, or the brand building effort succeeded through print if I did. But that is one of the big challenge. I mean, suppose you have a 20 page thick newspaper and your ad is featuring on the 13th page, you could only afford that. Then whether the person actually, how many people went to the 13th and stopped there, So this is something which if the print, how can we measure this? How can we see that how many people actually went through? The data genuinely, authentically, can be coming that, actually did people see that, rather than only marketer doing, if the publication house is also doing this kind of a research or in a very transparent way sharing with the marketer, this will help in a big way.
Does give that data, section red. In fact, it gives some unbelievable data. It gives you section red. It gives you who amongst a bunch of newspapers, which newspaper got picked up first. So issue pickup. There is a lot of data which is available in, which is not being looked at either by the agencies or by, publishers. But there is a mine of data out there.
Okay.
In fact, the entire PLD data. I haven't seen too much usage of PLD data, which is there in, which is there available in IRS, and it's something that we need to use. That the industry needs to use the data more often.
Okay, I'm just going to come to another point. Can the publishing industry become more cost efficient, which is what LP was talking about?
Engagement.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
See, when you are talking about newspapers subscription driven and just pure driven by cover price basis, we for example sell 100% on cover price basis, 0 subscriptions. So if a reader is paying 6 rupees a day and he's paying 180 rupees out of his pocket, he is going to pick up that newspaper. That newspaper is not going to lie at your balcony on a daily basis, just waiting to be picked up, looking for a content to be read. So most regional newspaper, let's cut out again, get to the wheat part. So if newspapers, especially regional newspapers across India, are 0 subscription driven and selling at a very high cover price, they are going to be picked up. Secondly, what Sanjay was saying about his experience of print newspaper, print readers going back to digital, converted to digital and going back to print. since September, my own sales team, we have been conducting, ringing doorbells of people who are not reading the newspaper, and we have been trying to gauge how they are actually consuming news. So we started to see that 10% had converted into some sort of a paid e-paper subscription, whether ours or whether our competitors. About 80 to 90% had gone back to consuming more of television. About 40% were converting about to social media. And we had given a clear mandate that go on a hard sell. That at this stage of time, if they are not reading print, then what is stopping them? And once our sales team started talking to these people, we had people, immediately saying, okay, get my newspaper back to me from tomorrow. And we started to see 40% conversion on immediate basis from all of those who are not reading print. And all these people who are going back and again paying 6 rupees against a subscription rate of 250 rupees per year, let's say even for my newspaper, and that person is going to pick up that newspaper and read.
Sure. Is everyone there, or are you all frozen?
Very much here.
Yeah. So in terms of one was the inelasticity of pricing in print. That's one question which publishers need to examine. Getting more granular data, which helps better KPIs, which can which helps them helps the marketer a lot more. The other is there a possibility of using digital better to service the advertiser in terms of gateways to like he said, you have differential pricing. Could you have a digital gateway where somebody could go and book at differential pricing? Or are we stuck in a different world where we have agents, who take up the ads and they get their commissions? Can we make it more cost efficient for the advertiser? Kakon and Deepak, are you all there? Hello.
From advertising, I'll let Kakon answer because I will not be able to, answer this part of the question.
Yeah. Yeah, Kakon?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you at all.
So this was basically about, getting cost efficiencies into, there are agents keep commission. Can we cut out that commission and get the pricing down for the advertiser finally? Can we have digital gateways for booking ads? Yeah, but
we could.
Yeah, so that could address a problem, LP, of inelasticity. Are you there, LP?
Yeah,
15% lower.
I'm there.
I'm not the expert.
I definitely think that
there is a cost to reaching a certain market, and everybody looks at their costing I can't actually, at a level like this, cannot actually say anything about getting a marketer into a certain market that through a medium. There is a cost to the medium and so on and so forth. So that's reflected in many a time it has been spoken that cost print is particularly big language print is, or big English print is not cost efficient. But well, it's a discussion that continues.
Yeah, Narayan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to cleverly divert this to Sanjay because I'm not the expert on this. But as somebody who straddles both the digital and the print worlds, I fancy he might have a better answer than me. But I was just thinking, one of the things digital has got right is milking the long tail, if you will, right? I mean,
sure.
Think about page 2 and beyond of any search. Nobody, or the conventional wisdom is nobody looks at it, but they do, and that's where a lot of the revenue comes in. And I just wonder if there is a similar model to be, applied for print as well. And again, like I said, maybe Sanjay, Aditi, you know better.
Yeah. So does anyone want to take it up, or we move on to the next point? If nobody's
Sanjay, you're on mute.
Yeah. So I think it's the property of the medium that allows digital to reach out to the last audience. You can theoretically speaking, you can target an audience of 1. And that's what the digital hyper promises, though it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about segmentation. And, I mean, let's look at it practically. Let's say you want to target women. So I talk about a 90 million reach for Indian Express online. When you say women, 30% of the, of the audiences on internet are women today. So my 90 suddenly becomes, almost 30 million. You put 2 more parameters and you're down to, a single million digit kind of a number. And suddenly that doesn't make sense to the advisor, because let's say you are reaching a 10 million audience and you have a 0.3 CTR, then what's the impact you're talking about? So, while the large numbers and the segmentation, theoretically, it all looks very exciting that, you can target an audience of 1. Unless you're selling a mark, a Merc or an Audi to that kind of an audience and you're able to get that conversion, the arithmetic doesn't really work out. So I think there are different reasons why you use digital. You use it for branding, you use it for content marketing, you use it for clicks, you use it for conversions, you do it for lead generation. So different parts of the digital ecosystem play out to these different associations. You do it for engagement, right? And you really have to figure out what is it that you want to achieve, and then figure out how you want to do it. So if you're launching something which is a mass brand and you really want to reach out to a lot of people, it's like launching something which is of interest to everyone. Then the long tail really becomes relevant in that sense. Otherwise, the long tail, and I think the biggest challenge that people suffer today, and I'm talking of especially the digital publishing industry, right? All the data about audiences is fine, but the data today largely resides with the Facebook and Google. We haven't really invested in that area, right? We are as unaware about our audiences as the print was, right? So in the print era, it was the distributor who knew your audiences, right? And he was in control. Today, the distributor has been replaced by Google and Facebook, which collect the data and mine the data and make sense. I think, but what is happening is, the good thing that has happened is, because of digital publishers now looking at subscription in a big way, we are getting to know our audiences. I know exactly who you are, what you do, right? These are paying audiences. And I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the game is going to change in a drastic way. Because I will then probably, my 90 million will not become relevant, but I'll have 2 million paying subscribers, right? Who I'll know inside out. And this is where your top of the pyramid is. This is where the buying power will lie. And once I'm able to target the right product to the right audiences with the right demographics and data, the 90 million will the long term will actually not matter. If you look at the New York Times today, with 4% paid audiences, they contribute almost 65-70% of their revenue.
Yeah.
And it's not just subscriptions, even the advertising revenue is concentrated to the 4%. Because those 4% are highly engaged audiences. As somebody said, if you're paying $6 for the newspaper, you'll very well pick and open it, right? Similarly, if you're paying $2,000 for the digital edition, you'll come to it every day, or maybe 2 times in a day, 3 times in a day, engage. And you'll be giving me 10-15 page views every day. I will then be able to give you data-rich audiences with purchasing power and the ability to target. So I think that was the missing piece in the puzzle. I think a lot of publishers are solving for it. We are solving for it. We invested heavily in the last 1 year about collecting data about our audiences, building profile. And over the next 3 to 5 years, I think we'll reach scales which will become meaningful. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, because people don't give you data just like that. I mean, nobody shares their profile just like that. But when they trust you, when they pay you, that's when they are willing to share data with you. And I think the digital game also is going to see a massive change in the next 3 to 5 years from what we do today. Today it's anonymous. There are intermediaries who allow you to target and take a bulk of the revenue. But going forward, I think the publishing industry, whether it's digital or print, they'll see a much better understanding of their audiences. And I will know, this set of maybe out of 2 million subscribers that are online, these 500,000 are overlapping audiences with print. So you can probably start a morning campaign in print and then try and reach out to the audience in the evening again, because he's on the events of the day, at the end of the day. So it's going to be a very interesting time in days to come forward. I think the two mediums will continue to complement each other for a while. We'll see the power shifts happening. That will happen inevitably, right?
Okay, yeah.
Both will remain meaningful.
Actually, so I'm going to reach out to Deepak and Kakon. Kakon, I just wanted to check out with your subscription. Is that going to be a good stay as far as regional is concerned? And Deepak?
Yeah, so
Anything about print?
I think that some of the pieces that will fall in, fall into place as we move ahead is that if you're looking at, I mean, subscription, of course, I mean, there will be for example, in our case, we are not looking at, we don't accept any advertising on our on our app. We are a complete ad-free setup. And that's how we're going. So for us, the whole subscription game there, getting behind a firewall, charging the consumer for what he is reading is very much the digital strategy that we are looking at. We are also looking at what can be the
Hello, Kakon, you're frozen. Can everyone hear me? Or is Kakon
is that I
frozen?
think publisher. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, right. So the only limited point that I want to make in this is that every publisher is looking to keep the audience within the fold of the brand. So whether you are going to, as you evolve as an audience, whether you would want to read it online or whether you want to read it, within with the newspaper in your hand is actually going to depend on a whole lot of factors which is related to the audience. Where do you come from, how you are, and so on and so forth. So the point being that how do you keep the consumer hooked to you from a brand perspective? How do they relate to you that this is something I cannot do without? Is the meaning of the game, right? And that's what we are all playing. So there will be, like Sanjay said, there will be percentage differences. Somebody more digitally inclined, somebody less digitally inclined, people from down the population strata climbing into print first, into that brand box, climbing into print first and then going out into digital. So all of those, it's a dynamic situation and will continue to happen. So it's very difficult to put a number or or some kind of finality in terms of number to it. Very dynamic.
Okay, last words. We are reaching close to 6:30.
Yes.
Each of you all want to say your last words, please. Any last words before we wrap up? Beginning with Aditi.
So it's very interesting. I think the turn the conversation has taken
about the return of print, the power.
Yeah. So, I found this thing that Sanjay said that, we will know our readers better and, more and more we are understanding. And anybody who's using the digital world today knows this whole conversation which is happening on first party data and cookieless and, how the world will evolve. To my mind, print actually knows its readers very well. The challenge is that so far that information is not easily available or accessible to anybody. So everybody is relying on IRS and saying, okay, this is the endpoint. And if I don't have this, I can't do anything more. So how do we take that power that print has today of really connecting with audiences, of the understanding they have, and share it with advertisers and the ecosystem so that we can understand, we can learn from there? Because print is first party data. Somebody is actually physically subscribing to you. So obviously they're buying you. So you have that information. How do you actually translate it into the way that we today talk in the digital world, that this is what is available? How can I take this information and build it and create an entire learning? Because eventually all brands and advertisers are interested in that audience. If you are able to tell me how you have that audience, the brand and the advertiser is going to partner you. And I think that's the way print needs to think about things versus, just give me an ad and this is the price of that ad. The moment we change our thinking to this, we can change into a different way of partnering each other.
Thanks, Kakon.
Well, I kind of totally agree with what Aditi is saying. I feel that, we've actually, you can see the difference in the approach that we are bringing to the table, and people who are actually bringing that difference to the table have, are actually more engaged with brands, both at the agency and actually more at the client level, because clients understand that, let me give you a small example. During COVID, we put together पूरे देश में एटलीस्ट हमारे मार्केट्स में 12 मार्केट्स में कहां पे कौन सा शोरूम ओपन हो चुका था is an information that we gave to the largest auto companies. It's a complete mapping that we were able to give to the and it was not something, and when these large companies actually saw something like that, they said, hell, really, itna khul gaya hai? Ha, khul gaya hai. So the point being that wherever you are able to, there is a perception about print, and I think that we need to, on both sides, there needs to be a crossing over. One that somewhere it seems like something had happened to print and it is trying to come back or something like that. We are always battling this perception. Nothing has happened to it, and it's actually back very much in a very big way. If you try to sit down with your both on the market, and I've seen plenty of big stuff that I've personally been involved in, my company's been involved in, where we've sat down with marketers and with advertising agencies, and we've said, this is how we can, tell me what your problem is and what I can solve. And when that conversation has happened, magic has happened.
Absolutely. So lots of innovation can happen.
Actually,
when you're in a partner.
Client ka dhanda.
Absolutely. Sanjay, your last words.
So I think
don't just plug for digital now. Don't just plug for digital.
Sorry?
Don't just plug for digital now.
No. I believe both mediums need to coexist, right? I come from a print lineage. I've moved to digital, so I know for a very long time my bread was buttered by print. So we are happy for print to continue. My content comes from print. I'm subsidized on that. So the point is, as I said, I'll give you a very practical example. When I am doing some marketing campaigns for my brand, for my product online, print is a part of my strategy. And today, when print is doing any kind of marketing campaigns or brand promotions, digital is a part of the strategy. So it's not like that. You have one, you don't need the other. So both bring their own value to the marketing mix that you want to have, and depending on what message, what your KPIs are, you choose the mix. So I think both will continue. There'll be a lot of interdependence. And I'll again kind of repeat myself and say, if you look at the Western markets, print still continues to be there, right? It may be smaller, it may be this thing, but they have their own other challenges. In Europe and America, distribution is a bigger challenge today than anything else. They don't find people for distribution, and that's one of the reasons why they're actually happy now to kind of limit the distribution of print to large concentrated populations rather than dispersed areas. So India is a very different market, and I believe that our journey of the way print will shape up in the future will not really ape what is happening in Europe and US. It will be in that direction, but not to the same extent though.
Okay, thank you. Deepak, your last words.
So 2016 में I was making a presentation to One IFRA in Hyderabad. Usme there were a bunch of from marketing side, and I was the only one from the distribution side. तो मैंने उस समय कहा था कि बातें करना जरूरी है, and conversations are more important and more so ever. We as a company, हमारा पुराना शुरू से एक आइडियोलॉजी रही है कि we are a content company. The form will change. आज प्रिंट बेच रहे हैं, कल डिजिटल बेचेंगे, मे बी रेडियो पे बेचने लग जाएंगे. But the hard truth is that we are a content company. KPIs will change, metrics will change, और solutions निकलेंगे, चाहे वो print side पे निकलें, चाहे digital side पे निकलें, लेकिन वो solutions निकलेंगे not by throwing data at each other, but by having conversations with each other. कोई भी market में कोई भी serious player बैठा हुआ है, वो अपनी बाजार को back of their hands जानता है, and they know how to deliver results. So print KPIs will change. Let us talk to each other. I am hardcore distribution guy. But I have got, from distribution side, I have got a solution to every problem. Throw a problem to me, I will give you a solution. From digital side, we have, subscriptions evolving. We have a, simple subscription, which will give you ads also. We have subscription, which will be ad free also. We have seen a good jump in digital subscriptions, and going over a period of time, digital will certainly involve, or digital or print ka bhi kuch subscription mix nikal karke aayega. But that's a very long journey. Lekin overall, the market is going to evolve and we have to change. I think that is going to be the biggest learning of the COVID time. जब कुछ नहीं पता था क्या हो रहा है, the way print evolved, सुबह होती थी तो पता चलता था आज ये नई चीज करनी है. I will just give you, a short story which I had. कानपुर अगर कोई गया है, अगर कानपुर के बारे में पता है, तो कानपुर जो मेजर शहर है वो तो गंगा के किनारे ही है, लेकिन देयर आर स्मॉल सबर्ब्स व्हिच आर क्रॉस गंगा. तो एक छोटा सा कस्बा है शुक्लागंज करके, और एक लोहे का ब्रिज है जिससे ट्रेनें भी निकलती हैं, जो कि बेसिकली इलाहाबाद साइड, लखनऊ साइड को जारी होती हैं. तो उसमें ऊपर ट्रेवल पैदल चलने का है, और नीचे जो है नीचे से ट्रेनें निकलती हैं. एंड देन सडनली वन मॉर्निंग वहां से शुक्लागंज से काफी हॉकर्स आते हैं, अखबार बांटने वाले, और वो आते हैं, अपना न्यूज़पेपर उठाते हैं मेन कानपुर साइड पे, और कानपुर साइड पे अखबार का डिलीवरी करके दे हैव टू गो बैक टू शुक्लागंज टू देयर होम्स. अब सडनली वन मॉर्निंग पुलिस ने पूरा बैरिकेड कर दिया कानपुर साइड से कि इधर नहीं आ सकते, और आपकी 5000 कॉपी जो है शुक्लागंज के वेंडर्स ने डिलीवर करनी है. अब आप क्या करोगे? तो द न्यूज़पेपर्स देयर हैड, इस साइड पर अच्छा ये साइकिल लेकर के बैरिकेड, साइकिल अपनी वहीं छोड़ दो, बैरिकेड करके यहाँ आ जाओ. और till the time we found the solution, let's say in 10-15 days, how to get that barricade removed so that these 20 guys can come in. एक गाड़ी खड़ी होती थी वहां पर, जो कि उनको एक साइकिल दोबारा से उनको इस साइड पर प्रोवाइड करी जाती थी, उनको उनके डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेंटर पे ले जाया जाता था, भैया अखबार बांटो. रीडर के पास अखबार की डिलीवरी एक दिन भी बंद नहीं होनी. तो जो डेप्थ है प्रिंट के पास अपने मार्केट की, वो जबरदस्त है, और कोई भी सोल्यूशन डिलीवर हो सकता है. थैंक यू.
नारायण.
I'll offer a somewhat qualitative insight, if you will. I mean, one of the observations coming, especially coming out of 2020, is that more than print, TV especially, and to some extent digital, seem to look at outrage as oxygen. We've seen that in the US especially, right? And already major publishers are talking about a downswing in revenue and relevance now that Trump is out of office. Print has not been subjected to that kind of a vagary so far. And I think, if anything, maybe this is a great opportunity to leverage the fact that print, like Kakon's example of the mapping of the auto dealers, it obviously offers useful information. It offers in-depth insight. And maybe it also brings a commodity that seems increasingly rare on TV these days, intelligence.
Thank you for that. LP?
Very quickly, I think what Kakon said and what also Aditi said is very important. If you actually ask the brand guy, or the marketer, that what is your problem, and partner, rather than just trying to sell ad space, it will solve a lot of problem actually. I mean, partnership is extremely important. How do you actually partner with the brand, understand their problem, and get back to them if they are not getting the result, is the first point which I would like to say. Second, print is the oldest one. I mean, Aditi was talking about, there is no information available to the brand guys about the partnership or the kind of audience. The psychographic as well as the demographic segmentation typically consuming that data. If that data can be channeled back, I'm just talking about, there are places where we want to do BTL activation with the help of the print medium, where we have the money, we want to engage. But, the most efficient way or the best understanding of that catchment with the print guys, no digital, nothing, but still, we never get that back. The data does not go back to the brands, the brand managers of the world, for them to partner. So that is the second point I would say. Third thing, which I would be very quickly talking about, is today India is a young country, and most of the young generation today, especially the kids of 20 years of age, they are predominantly not like us, who are in our 40s, we're not reading the newspaper to a great extent. That does not mean they are not reading the news, So that is the biggest challenge, as the country evolves going forward. How can you, because over a period of time, the country, this habit of people not subscribing to the supposed newspaper, and then going for the digital medium. So if people were watching once television for free and they move to the OTT platform, I'm sure that the time will come when this free consumption of the news, people will also migrate to pay for use, which will happen in the course of time. And then the various publication will also have a very good understanding of the consumer, and that will also help them in getting the best mileage out of the brands. And the brands also will also have that partnership so that we'll be able to get best ROI. So I think print is here to stay, but we need to evolve. We need to involve technology, and we need to ensure that how do we actually understand the challenges various brand marketers face today, and customize the solution so that we'll be able to deliver. That is what my last 2 cents.
Okay, I'm just going to come here before I move on to Vipul. TV has never been free, actually, especially cable television. You've been paying for it. You've been paying very little, but you've been paying for it. So it's not been free. You said they've been watching free TV to OTT. Yeah.
Anil, I'm so sorry. I've got a meeting to get to.
Sure. Thank you very much. I just Vipul's last words. Sorry, you want to say something?
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Vipul, your last words. Vipul, quickly. You're on mute, Vipul. Vipul, you're on mute. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, I forget it each time. Yeah. So as everybody said, so no need of repeating that print is here to stay. The credibility is high. But yes, what marketers are looking for more data. And from a pricing perspective, as well as measurement perspective, I think especially for pricing, perhaps print media needs to look more, not present the input, but also the output. Okay, what finally the marketers will get out of releasing an ad, an insertion in a particular edition. So that output wala part is pretty much missing. If they can address that question, right now our marketing budgets for print are decreasing little by little and growing into going more into digital, because the only finite thing in this world is money. Rest everything is fine. So if they can provide us more measurable data, nothing like it.
Okay. Thank you very much, all of you all. I've had a pleasure listening to you all, actually, not talking to you all, listening to you all. It's been an interesting conversation. I hope you all had an interesting time yourself, listening to each other and the direction the conversation went. And thank you to the audience which stayed on. This is Anil Banwari wishing you all goodbye, a good evening, and a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.